Now, do you guys have any covers? A lot of bands will throw in a cover. I'm just curious.
So we've been trying to figure out what to cover and what we could make work.
Yeah. I can
And
imagine like some classic Sabbath, like Sweet Leaf or something.
We do have a Sabbath song on the chopping block to learn for covering. Which one was it?
Hand of Doom.
Yeah.
No kidding. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can picture that. Yeah.
But yeah, I've been in a lot of bands, some of which have played covers. I have like a weird moral hang up about covers because like,
Interesting.
so hear me out.
Okay. Oh, very curious.
If you play in a band that does mostly original songs and you play a cover live at like say a bar or something,
Yeah.
you have suddenly become the disappointment jukebox for the entire audience because a couple of people in the audience liked the cover song, but then they're like, "Hey, can you play Leather and Lace?" or like something, and you can't. You can't play Leather and Lace. You can't play Freebird. You can't play Sultans of Swing. You know what I mean? Like suddenly you can't play what they all of a sudden want to hear and what they've tricked themselves into thinking they're there to hear.
Yep.
That suddenly you owe them something. And so with me, I like to play covers if it really means something to me. Like if I can get something emotionally out of performing this song in front of people, play a cover all day long.
Sure.
But I'm not just going to play, Wagon Wheel because it'll, does that make sense?
It does. I can relate to what you're saying.
And no shade to anybody who makes a living playing covers.
Oh, of course.
That's not what I vibe with musically, generally speaking.
Yeah. No, I can relate to that tremendously because, I played in a bunch of bands and I always fought against doing too many covers.
Mm-hmm.
It would be hard to talk the other people I was in these bands with out of doing any covers, but I was in a band called First Shove, and like the one cover that we were doing was we did Last Breath by Hatebreed, and that was okay because it was short and it wasn't with that kind of situation. It's not like somebody's not going to say, okay, now do you know Freebird? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So-
no, that's true. Like in that type of element, covering a song is almost like more or less paying homage to an inspiration.
Yeah.
Like that band we played with at Red Alert. Shout out to Trick Attack. They've got the coolest design I've ever heard of. So everybody loves the Tony Hawk Pro Skater soundtracks, right?
Oh, yeah.
What if there was a band that was their whole thing? And that's Trick Attack.
No kidding.
Yeah, be on the lookout for Trick Attack coming to a place near you. They were so awesome.
They were sick, dude.
And they've got such a good idea of just like taking this soundtrack that's resonated with so many people our age and exposed so many people to so many cool forms of music and just kind of bringing the spirit of that back.
And to like skateboard to
That's right.
the
This
Tony
was
Hawk
at the skate
soundtrack
park.
being played live. That
wow.
was like, man, my fourth grade self was over the moon.
That's
was
pretty
awesome.
Respectfully.
Yeah.
Where are they-
respectfully, of course. And nostalgic. It was great.
Where are they from? Are they from around here? Trick Attack? Or?
They're from Massachusetts.
Yeah, Mass,
Okay.
I think.
Okay. Yeah. No, maybe we can get them on the show. That's very interesting. Yeah. But yeah, I always fought against doing too many covers in the bands I was in. Or my thing was, if we're going to do a cover, let's end with it. That way, there's no misunderstandings about, are we an original band? Are we a cover band? No, just, let's do it at the end. But the other thing that drove me nuts too back in, and this, I'm older, so this goes back like 20 years, but there was a period where, and any of my peers from that time will know what I'm talking about because I know some of the people I knew then would listen to the show. There was this period where if you were a New Hampshire band and you were an original band that liked to sprinkle in a couple of covers, all of these bands were covering Sober by Tool. It was so obnoxious.
Oh, man.
And it wasn't even like all these bands were covering Tool. All these bands were specifically covering Sober by Tool. And and I was in a band called My Life Crisis, and I remember one of the guys was like, because everybody in the band was a Tool fan, including me. I like Tool. I never loved Tool, but I think I got burned out on them because they were so ubiquitous. It was like, oh my God, no more Tool. And I remember the conversation with these guys where one of them was like, we should do a Tool cover. And I remember I'm sitting there silently thinking, oh no, and I know what's coming next. We should do Sober. It was so weird. And I'm not even exaggerating or being hyperbolic. All of these bands were covering that specific song.
It must really resonate with the New Hampshire musician crowd.
I guess so.
I wonder
I guess
what the
it was-
through line there is.
It was so strange. Like 20 years ago, if you walked into any bar where there was a rock band playing, whether it was an original band that did one cover or a cover band, you were going to hear Sober by Tool. It was bizarre and it was very frustrating. And here I am 2 decades later, finally venting about it publicly.
Must feel good to get that off your chest.
It
man.
does. I've been carrying that around with me all this time. Why can't we be like, it's a great bass line. Don't get me wrong. I'm a bass player. I appreciate the bass line.
Sober?
Yeah.
Why can't we be sober? Why can't we be sober?
I like that version better. I like a good mashup.
Yeah. Oh, me too, man.
I had a funny idea. I was thinking, wouldn't it be funny to open with a cover
Yeah.
and then before every original song you played, just be like, oh, this next one is War Pigs by Sabbath.
I do stuff like that with. There's another band that I play sometimes with. We're kind of like in the middle of like a semi break now, but we're called Targus Targus. Shout out to Sean James Sweeney. I kind of like MC for them because everybody else just like is either too busy setting up their like synthesizer for the next song or whatever.
Yeah.
So I just kind of end up like talking. And I'll introduce songs with like names that are familiar or like not say that we're us. I'll say that like, hey, where are the Backstreet Boys or where are the Fine Young Cannibals or something like that. Just like anything so that it seems like I'm emceeing, but I'm actually giving the audience no information at all. And
Right.
that's kind of my shtick.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I like that.